Alna the Frozen Mother has officially arrived in AFK Journey, and she's set to completely warp the frontline meta around her. Unlike traditional tanks that rely on high HP, shields or even taunts to tank up for the team, Alna wins through her invulnerability buff as well as global haze manipulation to tank up for the team. In today's video, we're going to break down her kit as well as discuss about her strengths in the different game modes for AFK Journey. Now, it is important to note that Alna is a relatively defensive unit, so her job is meant to be defensive by nature, buffing up the Winter Warrior, providing the frontlining power for the team, as well as debuffing the haste of the enemies. So she's not able to offer a great damage boost for bossing contents such as Dream Realm, Ravage Realm, as well as your Primal Lords. So she's more skilled towards AFK stage pushing as well as PvP in general. So that's the expectation that we have to set for her in terms of her best utility purpose. So with that in mind, let's move on to the mechanics for Alna. Starting off with her ultimate, Winter Anthem, she has a passive effect as well as an active effect. The passive effect allows you to reduce the haste and attack range of all characters on the battlefield. This could be used in tandem with melee teams, so that you reduce the efficiency of your opponent's range team while reducing the overall haste to slow down the pacing of battle so that your units can survive better. On top of that, there's an active portion where she summons a blizzard dealing massive damage while offering heals for the Winter Warrior as well as Alna for them to soak up more damage on the front line. Her next skill, Shed Resolve, is a buff as well as a damage built into the kit. The buff portion allows you to select an ally and turn them into the Winter Warrior, which allows them to be immune to the haste reduction effect of the ultimate. At the same time, the max HP of the Winter Warrior is also permanently increased throughout the battle, increasing their survivability, and the active portion allows her to thrust her spear to do additional damage while healing herself and the Winter Warrior. And Alna's also able to do a little bit of AoE damage with the third ability Wild Whirl, while applying a haste reduction to the affected enemies in the process. Now, moving on to the most important part of the kit, the EX weapon ability, Chilling Presence, allows Alna to envelop herself in icy wind to be immune to damage as well as control effect periodically during the battle itself. After casting this ability, she also grants the Winter Warrior the same immunity effect, which greatly increases the survival of the Winter Warrior as well as Alna in battle because they are immune to damage and immune to CC effects by the enemies as well. As mentioned earlier, since Alna has the global ability to reduce the haste and attack range of all units on the battlefield except for herself and the Winter Warrior, it would be much better to use Alna with melee teams in order to mitigate the debuff from the passive portion of the ultimate. However, because the Winter Warrior will be immune to the debuff of all these units, you can actually put Alna with your range hyper carries in order to give them the HP buff so that they survive better, while preventing them from getting the attack range and haste debuff from the passive effect of Winter Anthem. However, based off my personal observation, what I believe the best team of Alna should be for the AFK stage pushing portion would be one which consists of Alna together with Belrun, Mahira and Saida, plus one more utility unit in the team. So the role of Belrun in the team is to be the frontliner as well as the Winter Warrior and the late game DPS for the overall damage push in general, because Belrun is able to benefit from the damage immunity as well as control immunity for him to build up his celestial form for the damage side, and he's able to frontline with a lot of inbuilt HP on top of the healing as well as the max HP boost that the Winter Warrior buff is able to provide him with. On top of that, we even have Saida, which can be used as a control unit for the team, as well as the Winter Warrior as well, because she's able to do a lot of damage if she's able to cast the ultimate multiple times, offering AoE control if you're able to cast the ultimate at least 4 times in battle. Lastly, we are including Mahira in the team so that Mahira is able to offer that control at the start of battle as well as the continuous charm to provide AoE control for the whole team moving forward. Another more budget-friendly hyper carry option that you can run with Alna would be Pheromore, as Pheromore is a unit that's able to do a lot of damage provided he's able to stand on the battlefield. This is where Alna comes in to provide the survival as well as the control immunity for Pheromore to stand on the battlefield, get his ultimate going, prevents the heal of the enemy, and do a lot of true damage in the process. Other than the above mentioned units as well as team composition, we're going to talk about some other utility characters that you can use with Alna to make your team more well-rounded. So first of all, we have Valara. So Valara has the ability to debuff the enemy, heal your team, as well as buff up the stats of your team with her stat stealing ultimate. And for the melee team specifically, Zendrok is an amazing buffer with the initial haste buff as well as max HP buff to increase the survival as well as damage output for melee teams in general. Other good AFK stage units together with the melee tech would be the likes of Tilaya, which is able to tank up on the front line while buffing the defensive capabilities of your allies with the EX weapon, as well as Theodore and Iron, which are both really amazing AFK stage pushing units while offering amazing frontlining power or control for the team. For the PvP side, the Saida Alna combo is disgustingly good because Alna is able to provide the Winter Warrior buff for Saida, and Saida as a unit that is able to come back to life, do a lot of damage, control at the same time, benefits from the Winter Warrior buff with increased HP, as well as the ability to survive until she gets multiple ultimates off, which is what Saida wants to achieve in battle. So this is where this combo of Saida together with Alna is insanely good, and you can further complement the team with the likes of Athalia for even more undying power, because Athalia is a unit that does a lot of damage and even does damage after she falls in battle. We also have the likes of Zendrok, which offers that initial push in damage while giving more HP to all the units in the battle. So really good stuff for melee teams in general. You can also throw in the likes of Baron for even more damage or late game scaling. The likes of Damien to complete the Undying Immortal team, which is really annoying to deal with because Damien can actually heal up the allies even if they are in the invulnerable state. This Alna plus Saida combo is really powerful, and you can further complement the team with other existing OP arena units to bolster your arena defense or offense. You could also simply use Alna as well as the Winter Warrior as frontline units to buy time for other damage sources like the likes of Chimera or even your damage over time teams to build up damage and then bring down the opponent from there. In conclusion, Alna's a really flexible character which excels for your AFK stages as well as the PvP game modes. So she's able to counter range teams by reducing the range of ranged enemies to reduce their survival and also their offensive prowess. You are able to fit Alna into multiple team archetypes, and she will be able to fulfill her role to tank up for the team and buff up your Winter Warrior. And that's it for this video. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I will see you guys again in the next Journey to Grandmaster's video. Bye guys!